In France, surrogate mothers don't exist officially. It's forbidden by law. However, every year between 100 and 200 couples resort to it. An illegal market directly accessible via the internet. All you have to do is place an ad in the personals. Couple seeks surrogate mother. Contact us. And the replies come very quickly. In the main, they come from overseas, Africa, Madagascar, Brazil. Women who offer to carry your child for between 15,000 and 20,000 euros. For this price, some even offer to come to you and offer to do the dishes and clean the house. But there are also replies from French women, like those from Stephanie. I need money, or else I'll be in the street. I can move in with you during the pregnancy. I'm healthy in mind and body, and I want to help you. After the exchange of several emails, Stephanie suggests that we meet her in her hometown, Bordeaux. The meeting is arranged outside a store in the middle of town. We go there with a hidden camera, pretending we are a couple.
Bonjour.
Did you have a good trip? Stephanie immediately explains her situation. She has no work and she survives on security. My life is in limbo. I've got a major problem with accommodation. Because I don't get any outside help, the social services don't do their job. It's pretty much a disaster. Have you thought of being a surrogate mother before? I must admit that I haven't. But I find the idea very attractive. Do you know that it's illegal? No, I didn't know that. I had the impression that it's done a lot. It doesn't really worry me that it's banned. Stephanie puts her cards on the table. In a month, she has to leave her apartment and will be on the street. That's why she agrees to be our surrogate mother. She's prepared to drop the price. Well, to find a place and furnish it, I thought about 3,000 or 4,000 euros. I don't know if it's too much. I don't know. Well, to be honest, we haven't thought about it either. Would that be 3,000 or 4,000 euros to actually carry the baby and to hand it over? Well, for me, it's what I need to find somewhere to live, because I really have to. A pregnancy for an apartment. On one side, women who rent their wombs. On the other, desperate couples ready to do anything to have a child. Today in France, a totally illegal market in surrogate mothers is growing. It's been 3 years that Juliette has been surfing the web. 3 years that she's been desperately searching for the woman who will bear her child. Juliette was born without a uterus, and from the moment she met her husband, Benoit, they started thinking about resorting to a surrogate mother. They then discovered a market they had never imagined. I met some on the web at not less than 30,000 euros. Totally exorbitant prices. Were you aware that a sort of market like that existed? Not at all. Maybe we're a bit naive. No, we weren't naive. It's a racket. No, but bearing a child requires a bond, lots of trust, and not just, well, okay, let's go. Still, nobody is disinterested. Everybody thinks of the money when they do it. We mustn't be naive. 2 years ago, Juliette and Benoit found a surrogate mother, but the attempts to get pregnant failed. The surrogate mother gave up and they lost 20,000 euros. Despite everything, they continue to look and hope that one day France will change the law. Why did you agree to talk to us? Well, for myself, I'd say in order to move things along, to make it legal in France. And especially to allow other young girls who were born with my problem to be able to do this in France with a surrogate mother, so they don't have problems at that level.
Ça se fait dans d'autres pays de manière très encadrée et nous on est évidemment pour.
In other countries it's very well supervised. Obviously we're in favor of it being supervised in very special cases where the mother has medical problems. Why shouldn't we have the right to do it this way? Well, quite simply. And our speaking out and our experience, we hope, may help other couples later on to make progress faster than us and in a legal way.
En tout cas plus vite que nous et de manière légale plus tard.
The situation is yet more incomprehensible for Juliette and Benoit, as 20 years ago, surrogate mothers were not illegal in France. Paris Match had in fact devoted several articles to what was then considered a social phenomenon. In 1985, a surrogate mother even appeared live on the France 3 news program. I love this child, but I don't consider he's mine. This child already belonged to the couple from the moment of conception. I can't say that it's mine because right from the start I knew this child would have to leave. In fact, at the time, there is still no law relating to surrogate mothers. There's a judicial void. So the law looks into the problem. In 1991, a ruling by the Court of Cassation condemns the practice. The judges base their ruling on a principle of French law, the unavailability of the human body. In other words, the human body cannot be rented or be sold. A ban that is confirmed by French law in 1994. Last year, in the National Assembly, a commission of members took a second look at the problem of surrogate mothers. Valérie Pécresse was spokesperson for this commission. She explains why the parliamentarians decided not to change the law. The risk is that we will really see the spread of forms of exploitation of women by other women, and we don't want that. We don't want that at all. That is not the French model. And then there is the much more complicated question of what is called the unavailability of the human body. And the unavailability of the human body means that even for free, you cannot make your body available to another person. And you cannot do it because there again you have the exploitation of one woman by another. And you know, we're now starting to see some very serious abuses appear in the United States. For example, the case of working women who are making a career and who say, oh dear, pregnancy is going to handicap my career and I'm going to have to fall behind my male colleagues. So I'm going to have my baby with my genetic imprint, but carried by some other mother. And that way she'll be pregnant and during that time I can work. And that way I can have a baby without having to go through a pregnancy. And in the United States, there are gestators, women from modest backgrounds, women in social and financial difficulties. And you can see that it's a new form of human bondage. If the members of Parliament were cautious, it's also because things have gone wrong. Like the baby donor affair, a scandal that was widely reported in 2005. In Belgium, a young couple, Gertrude and Bart, had recruited a surrogate mother and promised to pay her 8,000 euros. Everything went well, but 6 months into the pregnancy, the surrogate mother decided to keep the baby. I don't want to give them the child. I have the feeling it won't be happy with them. Faced with that, Gertrude and Bart can do nothing. There is no possible recourse. But the story does not end there. A few days after the birth, the surrogate mother decides to put the baby up for sale. The advert is placed on the internet, and several couples fight over the child. Donna is finally sold to the highest bidder, a Dutch couple who carry her off for 15,000 euros. Despite all the legal procedures brought by the Belgian couple, little Donna is growing up today in the Netherlands with her new parents. But neither of these scandals nor the law's ban have scared off Marie and Julien. 2 years ago, this French couple decided to resort to a surrogate mother. Despite the risks they run, they agreed for us to follow their story. They're both 29 years old and live and work in the east of France. They have been together for 7 years. Right at the start of their relationship, Marie explained to Julien that she could not bear their child.
J'ai appris, moi, mon problème, je dois avoir 16 ans.
When I learned of my problem, I must have been 16, and when I really started talking about this practice, I must have been about 20.
Je dois avoir 20 ans, quoi, à peu près.
C'est jeune.
Well, that's young.
C'est jeune, oui.
It is young, yes. Let's say that I knew it was the only method. I knew that it could take a long time too, and, well, I had to find a husband too. But let's say that even before getting married or being in a couple, I had inquired into this practice to find out what I was getting into, what was possible. And then later I said to myself, the day that I meet the person in my life, to be able to say to him, yes, I can't have a child, but, well, I can't carry my child, but I can have children. And what was your reaction? Well, when you realize that you can have a child that looks like you go for it. We're ready for anything. Julien and Marie really can have a child that looks like them. Marie has no uterus, but her ovaries are functioning. So the couple has chosen to resort to in vitro fertilization. First, they will remove one of Marie's eggs. Then Julien's sperm will fertilize this egg. The embryo thus obtained will then be implanted in the uterus of the woman who will be the surrogate mother. So genetically, the child will really be Marie and Julien's. I challenge anybody to say that genes are not important. I may not be able to carry it, but at least I can have one of my own. And it will be his blood, and it will be my genes. It fills the emptiness of saying, I can't carry it. But whatever happens, it's mine. We told ourselves that this will be the solution. Like all the women in her situation, Marie has spent whole evenings on the internet. And then one day, there was this advert. Hello, I offer myself as a surrogate mother. I'm 26 and I have a child. I want couples who cannot have a child naturally to experience the happiness of being parents. It's the most beautiful gift in the world. Behind this advert is Sandra, 29 years old. She lives and works in Lyon. Mother of a little boy, she has just separated from her partner. For a month, Sandra and Marie exchange emails and phone calls. And then they meet. And Sandra agrees. She will bear Marie and Julien's child. I really needed to do this. I needed to make this gesture to prove that I really exist. And also, in a way, to give a meaning to my life. Because it's true in the present world, I get the impression that everybody tends to forget each other and be a bit selfish. Well, that's not my philosophy at all, and I need to go out to people to help them. I wanted to help a couple have a child. Did the law make you think twice?
Non, du tout.
No, not at all. I was always convinced that there was some way around the law. But, well, how did you cope with that?
C'est histoire de conscience. On se dit qu'on fait quelque chose de bien. Même si c'est légal, c'est quelque chose de
It's a question of conscience. You tell yourself you're doing a good thing, even if it's illegal. It's something fantastic and wonderful, and I think that the law shouldn't be above everything. But between you and the couple you are carrying the baby for, there's also a question of money.
Oui, il y a une histoire
Yes, there is a question of money, but actually we saw it as compensation rather than payment. And even today, I still find it hard either to talk about money or even accept it when they give me an envelope.
Accepter quand il me donne une enveloppe, quoi.
But in a way, I tell myself that all labor is worthy of hire, in inverted commas. And if they consider that what I'm doing is worth what they give me, then okay, I'll take it. And how much is the money? It's 15,000 euros.
15 000 euros.
For Marie and Julien, this pregnancy is expensive, because on top of the sum paid to Sandra, you have to add medical expenses, a total of 30,000 euros. And to get this money, they had to save for years and sell their car.
Je sais pas si c'est pareil pour toi, mais je veux dire, j'ai pas du tout le sentiment.
I don't know if it's the same for you, I don't have the feeling of paying to have a child at all. That's not it. I almost feel it's part of the natural costs of pregnancy. I don't tell myself that I'm paying to have this child.
Au fond de moi, dans ma tête, je me dis pas, je paye pour avoir cet enfant, quoi.
In France, in vitro fertilization is illegal in the case of surrogate mothers. So to have their embryo implanted in Sandra's uterus, Marie and Julien had to go abroad. Not all countries in Europe have adopted the same position regarding the surrogate mothers. Like France, a majority of countries has opted for a ban. Others, like Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and the Netherlands, have yet to rule. And finally, only 2 countries have openly come out in favor: Greece and Great Britain. So Marie, Julien, and Sandra found help just a few hours train ride from Paris. Here in London, in England, recourse to surrogate mothers has been allowed since 1985. And in the heart of the capital, a clinic agrees to take in undercover French couples. Situated in a residential building, this private clinic specializes in medically assisted reproduction. The director, Nathalie Foreman, agreed to see us without any problems. She is French and had the idea of this clinic in London 4 years ago. Wood, bright corridors, chairs separated by white veils. The establishment cultivates refinement and discretion. We didn't want it to look like a medical clinic. We wanted it to be a place where people could feel relaxed, calm, not frightened. We thought of a spa or a sports center or a hotel. Behind this facade in the heart of the clinic is a state-of-the-art laboratory. This is where the couple's sperm samples and embryos are stored in liquid nitrogen. It's difficult to imagine that these tiny frozen specks will become little people. Does that affect you? Yeah, it does. I'm used to it, but I always find it interesting to see where it all begins. The clinic carries out in vitro fertilization and also the implantation of embryos in the surrogate mother's uterus. That's the work of Dr. Robert Foreman. He is professor of gynecology, and each year he agrees to treat around a dozen undercover French couples and their surrogate mothers.
There's
no woman who wants her child carried by someone else, unless she's forced to. If she could carry her own child, she would do so with pleasure. So there really are women who are in a desperate situation. They're born without a uterus or have lost their uterus through cancer. Sometimes their mothers took distilbene, a product with very harmful effects on the uterus of the daughters born to those mothers. So they are women who have no choice. And with contemporary medicine, we can help them become mothers like everybody else. And that's why, a year ago, Dr. Foreman agreed to implant Marie and Julien's embryo in Sandra's uterus.
You're doing very, very well.
The birth is due in 3 months.
Allô?
Hello.
Ça va?
How are you?
Ouais, ça va.
I'm fine. How about you? Yeah, I'm fine.
Ouais.
As on every Sunday, Sandra, the surrogate mother, gets a call from Marie, who gets news on the baby.
Oui.
You're not too tired?
Non, ça
No,
va.
it's okay. I was able to take a rest. Does he move a lot?
Très bien.
Yeah, a lot. He's very active.
Très actif.
He doesn't stop you sleeping?
No,
It's just when I'm going to sleep. That's when he's really active.
C'est bien.
Especially when you're resting then.
Ouais.
Yes, that's it.
Donc,
Well, if everything's fine, I won't keep you any longer.
d'accord.
Okay. All right, well, big hugs and talk to you
Gros
soon.
bisous alors. Salut.
Bye, kisses.
Vous parlez au bébé?
Do you talk to the baby?
La première fois que je lui ai parlé déjà.
The first time I talked to him, I felt really funny. I was afraid of getting attached, but in a way it set up the relationship, a more affectionate relationship.
Quelque part, ça nous mettait en
But it's true,
relation tous les deux.
it was hard in the beginning.
Affective, et c'est vrai que j'ai eu du mal au début.
But from the moment I started talking to him, I said to him, "Hello, it's Auntie." And afterwards it was quite natural.
Et vous lui racontez quoi?
And what did you tell him? Oh, I told him everything. Yeah, everything. About the day I've had, I tell him when his mummy and daddy called us, and how they can't wait to see him.
Vous lui racontez son histoire?
Did you tell him about himself? Yes, I've told him about his story. He had to hear it. Whatever.
On triche pas, hein?
No cheating now. Take care. The truth is that Sandra has told the baby, her friends, her close family, and even Tom, her little 5-year-old boy.
Gagné. Maman.
On recommence?
Perdu. Oui.
Vous avez expliqué comment à votre fils?
How did you explain it to your son?
En fin de compte, je lui ai expliqué.
Well, in the end, I told him quite simply that Marie's belly was broken, and that Mummy was going to carry Marie and Julian's baby, and little by little, it would...
Donc, et puis petit à petit,
Maman a une poche.
Yeah, Mummy has a pouch.
Maman, elle a la poche.
Yes, that's right. Mummy has a pouch to carry the baby.
Oui, oui.
Yeah,
Une queue pour...
and a tail to feed the baby.
Oui. Oui, oui.
Yes, that's so the baby grows up big and strong, and when he comes out, he'll go away with his mummy and daddy.
Et sa maman. Voilà.
Oui.
Ouais.
Là, tu peux aimer là.
Ouais.
Surrogate mothers like Sandra are rare, so for those who don't succeed in finding a woman in France, there's only one solution: look abroad. And once again, it takes place on the internet. With a single click, you have access to dozens of specialist agencies from all around the world, offering to find you the ideal surrogate mother. The majority of these sites are based in California, where the practice is legal. Page after page of pictures of family bliss, photos of chubby-cheeked babies, and glowing couples hugging their surrogate mothers. They even let you custom pick the woman who will carry your baby. You can choose their ethnicity, Asiatic or Afro-American, even the color of her eyes and hair. All that's left is to choose the lucky winner by photo. Naturally, this service comes at a price. Between 60,000 and 120,000 euros, surrogate mother and medical expenses included. But you can find a lot cheaper in Russia, for example. Here, for 30,000 euros, all included, you can walk away with your baby. Better still, India. The latest arrival in the market, the country is undercutting prices with a surrogate mother embryo implant package at only 10,000 euros. And in the whole catalogue, one agency attracts our special attention. A site translated into French, but which is based in Georgia. The Surrogate Mother Center. The lowest prices in Eastern Europe. A catalogue of available surrogate mothers. So we fix a meeting. Six hours flying time from Paris, Georgia, the former Soviet bloc republic. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the country has been in deep economic crisis. Inflation is at 20%, the black market thrives, and average wages are 50 euros a month. More than half of the 4.5 million population lives below the poverty line. Irma is our interpreter. She will be our guide during our stay in Tbilisi. First stop, the Surrogate Mother Center. It's here in this building, on the 3rd floor. It takes a few minutes to find it. A simple piece of paper taped to the wall. Inside is a sparsely furnished room, a desk, a few chairs, a telephone, and a turned-off laptop computer. Welcome to the Surrogate Mother Center. At first sight, nothing to compare to Dr. Foreman's London clinic. The director is Tama Rajapuridze. She founded the center 7 years ago, and for a year she's been getting foreign couples. Just now we have couples from Germany, France and Macedonia. And amongst these couples, how many are French? Right now we have 3 French couples. Have you had results? Have you been successful? Well, for one couple, we're waiting for the insemination results. For another couple, the woman is pregnant and we're starting the procedure with the third. How much does this cost in Georgia? It costs 7,000 euros. The sum includes the amount to be paid during the pregnancy and then after the birth, so that the surrogate mother can get back into shape. Altogether, it comes to around 11,000 euros. But for this price, Tamar isn't offering in vitro fertilization, just a simple artificial insemination. The husband's sperm is injected directly into the surrogate mother's womb. Tamar wants to show us her laboratory. She takes us to the other side of the corridor. And once again, it's a practically empty room. In a recess, on a small table, is an amateur microscope. Electric cables hang from the wall. On the floor, there's a container. Tell them that this is where we keep the sperm, frozen at almost minus 200 degrees. And how long can you keep it? At that temperature? For years. It's impossible to prove if this all works. But one thing is certain. There's nothing here that looks like a clinic. There's not even a source of water in the laboratory. During our visit, the only wash basin we saw was in Tamar's office, and there was no soap. Then we asked to see the gynecologist who works in the center. Here is the gynecologist's office. She won't agree to an interview because she has a heart condition and can't take too much excitement. She has heart trouble. She won't agree. Can we see her during the working day? She may get upset. She's too emotional. Can we just take some pictures of her for 5 minutes or 10 minutes? No, I don't think so. Tell them that she has heart trouble and that she can't take too much excitement. Tamar remains adamant. We will never meet the gynecologist. Information obtained from the Georgian Ministry of Health tells us that Tamar's clinic is not officially recognized. The center does not have the status of a clinic. Really, behind its medical facade, the center is first and foremost an agency for surrogate mothers. And Tamar is going to introduce us to one of her recruits. A few minutes later, a woman of about 30 enters the room. She immediately tries to negotiate the price for the interview. For $3,000, you can film my face, my husband, and my children. We refuse. Oh, really? Are you so poorly funded? Here they pay very well for interesting reports. Finally, after 10 minutes of negotiation, we agree to pay her 75 euros for a half-hour interview with her face hidden. An interview that takes place under the watchful eye of Tamar. Zaira tells us that she has been working with Tamar for several months and that she is currently pregnant from a Georgian couple. I'm in a bad financial situation. It's true that I did think about it a lot before coming to take this decision. But I'd certainly rather do this than steal or walk the streets. Tamar has hit a rich seam. On the one side, you have women in need like Zaira. On the other, dozens of Western couples ready to spend considerable sums to find a woman to carry their child. And in Georgia, it's not just at clinics where surrogate mothers can be found. To check the extent of this market, our guide, Irma, has an idea. Call a TV station where you can place a personal ad. that very evening, during a music program featuring numerous scantily clad young girls, our ad is screened. Young Western couple seeks surrogate mother. Contact us.
There's always something to
The next morning, replies start coming in. One man offers us the services of his sister. He fixes a meeting the same day at his workplace, a market on the outskirts of Tbilisi. Go there with a hidden camera, pretending to be a French couple looking for a surrogate mother. Our contact is there, waiting for us. Hello. These are my friends. Yes, these are the ones who are interested. Well, first off, I'd like to know how much they're offering. They know the prices more or less in Georgia, but they don't want to talk prices before they meet the person. They want to see the woman whom they will entrust with this task and with their child. Okay, where then? Or at her place where she lives. Oh, at her place? Okay, yeah, sure, we can do that. The man leads us to a taxi. We set off for Glaudani, a suburb of Tbilisi. Along the way are whole neighborhoods built in the 1970s, rising out of wastelands. The man tries to reassure us. The air is much cleaner out here than in the city. Kara's sister lives here, on the 10th floor of this building. There is an elevator, but it's been out of service for years. Nobody seems to take care of the common areas anymore. They're just left to decay. There's mold over the ceiling and walls of the apartment. Can you fetch some chairs, Kara? I didn't tell you before, but in fact, this is my wife. Immediately, the woman explains why her husband lied to us. Well, you see, if you tell the truth here, nobody will understand you. It will be different abroad. Here, even our parents criticize us. We broach the subject of money. Kara and his wife want a monthly salary and a bonus at the birth or handover of the baby. What is the exact amount you want? Well, I've worked it all out. It would be about $300 a month. Altogether, that's $10,000. During the conversation, we signal our anxiety. What if they finally decide to keep the child? Well, I think about that a lot, actually, and I was thinking about it again today. What would happen if I ever refused to give up this baby? No, we would be categorically against keeping this child, even if you gave it to us. This man isn't the only one who contacted us. A woman also replied. We decide to go and see her. Another suburb, but with the same decor. Broken roads. Dilapidated buildings. This woman is called Maya, and right at the outset she tells us that she has already been a surrogate mother, but she never met the parents. I met a woman who told me that the baby wasn't for her. I never saw a man with her, so I don't really know who it was for. And this woman, this go-between, we discover when we read the contract, was Tamar, the director of the Surrogate Mother Center. In the contract, the sum paid to Maya for her pregnancy, 3,000 euros. 3,000 euros that Tamar bills to foreign couples at 7,000 euros. Today, in many poor countries, as in Georgia, renting wombs has become a real way to survive, and a market to be exploited by people with few scruples. To fight this illegal market of clinics and dubious agencies, some doctors in France take the position that surrogate mothers should be legalized. But it's a sensitive subject, and those who are ready to speak out are rare. At the Strasbourg hospital, Israel Nizand, head of the gynecology department, has chosen to break the taboo. I have to admit that my basic conservatism, if I may say so, led me to think, but it's good, the French law is very good. And it's only when I put my nose into the soup that I realize that the law in France is not very good. And the legislators never come face to face with the situation. There are not sufficient couples to pose a problem, to form a lobby, and so on. So helping women with the preparation to reduce the prohibitive costs of these practices abroad seemed a perfectly reasonable thing for doctors to do, and I would tend to encourage them and to do it myself. Has that ever happened? Of course. I see it as my role to help a woman who cannot get the help in France and who has to spend huge sums to obtain it abroad because of this highly restrictive French law.
À l'étranger, à cause de la loi de la France, très restrictive, eh bien, je pense que c'est mon rôle de l'aider.
By abetting this illegal practice, doctors like Professor Nissan risk up to 1 year in prison or a fine of 15,000 euros. They can also be struck off the medical register. Three months before the birth, Marie and Julien visit Sandra, their surrogate mother, to accompany her for an ultrasound scan. A few hours' drive, and they join the woman who is carrying their child and whom they call their nursie, a moment that all three are waiting for impatiently. Did you have a good trip? Are you okay? Yep. Hello.
Ça va? Alors? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? C'est dans le lit? Ouais.
You put on more weight? Yeah. In 6 months, the two women have managed to create a certain complicity. Tonight we're making his cake. We're making brownies. And who's going to eat this cake? Mummy is. With who? With me. Yeah, that's right. Are you sure you're going to be 5? Like this, you see? Yep. Oh, that's okay then. Every moment spent with Sandra gives Marie and Julien one more opportunity to make contact with their baby. Marie and Julien sit either side of Sandra. She will help them make contact with the baby. Sandra guides Marie. How much do you think he weighs? About 6 pounds? Ooh, 5 pounds 12 at least. So he's put on around 2 pounds since last time. Yeah, I think so. There, I saw him move. Go on, put your hand there. There, I can see him move. Yes. Oh yeah, you can feel tiny. Yes. No, he's not moving much, so. But if you can feel him, it's okay. Yes. It's time to leave for the ultrasound scan. Sandra's gynecologist knows that she is a surrogate mother, and he agrees to see her with Marie and Julien. Because of the legal risks he runs, Marie, Julien and Sandra have asked us not to film him. Yet another moment when Marie and Julien have to lead secret lives. I find it degrading and shameful, and then to plunge even deeper into lies as you do, I think it's a pity. We're going through what is surely the most wonderful experience of our lives, and we have to hide. Well, there's nothing as wonderful as making a child, and here we have to hide. To lie, we hide like criminals, like a guy who's done something wrong. But we're far from being criminals. On the contrary, we're bringing life. But we're forced to hide because we're considered outlaws.
On donne la vie. On donne la vie, mais on est obligé de se cacher parce qu'on est quand même hors la loi. C'est hors la loi.
Just 3 weeks before the birth, Marie goes back to Sandra's. She's going to move in to live through the last moments of pregnancy with her surrogate mother. You have the impression that it's never going to end. Every second seems an eternity. You've got it all: stress, anxiety. You're getting ready for the baby's arrival. You can't wait to reach that point and to be able to go home and start a new life.
De pouvoir ensuite rentrer chez nous et puis commencer une nouvelle vie.
Ça va?
Ça va?
How are you? I'm fine. How about you? Yeah, I'm okay.
T'es allé chez le coiffeur?
Have you been to the hairdresser? No, I just cut my own
Ça
hair.
va? Tu vas bien?
How are you?
Ça va?
Marie is living this pregnancy almost by proxy.
Quoi de neuf?
So what's new?
C'est vrai?
I'm having contractions, really. I had a slight panic attack yesterday. I told myself, this can't really be happening. Oh, when yesterday? Well, it was yesterday evening and all night. I think it's because of the heat. We're 5 days away from the birth. As on every morning, Marie calls Julien to give him the news. In the corridor, just a few yards from the front door, a suitcase is waiting.
Tout est prêt près de la porte.
Voilà. Prête à
All
partir.
ready to go. And clearly, in her impatience to be a mother, Marie has provided slightly more clothes than necessary.
Donc voilà.
There you are. Here's some bibs, and here are some little pajamas, which are warm enough for the beginning, some booties, and some thinner pajamas in case it gets hot. Here's some pacifiers just in case for maternity. I don't know if he'll take them, but anyway, everything's ready. He can come. We just have to wait till he knocks on the door. Do you feel like a mother already? Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I've felt like that for a long time. I don't need him to be here to feel I'm a mother. Just knowing that he's ours and that he'll be with us. I'm not carrying him, but from the moment it took and she got pregnant, I already felt I was a mother.
Ça a pris et puis qu'elle est tombée enceinte, je me sentais déjà maman. Donc,
Vous allez aller toutes les
Are
deux.
you both going into maternity? Yeah, I asked for a room with a second bed so that she can be there to look after her baby naturally. And afterwards, I'll have handed over the reins.
tu seras là quand même.
Oui, mais bon.
But she'll still be there. Yeah, well, but you'll be the mother.
Là, il n'y a plus de...
But it's not quite so simple on the legal front. Officially, Marie and Julien are not the parents, so the couple has to get around the law. For Julien, it's quite simple. He states that he's the child's father and recognizes him in the eyes of the law. The problem is for Marie. Françoise Descouvert-Desfossés is the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Lille. She's an expert in family law. And she's categorical. Despite Julien's declaration, there is no legal bond between Marie and the child. The mother who raises the child has strictly no rights over the child, none. And what if the husband dies? It's the birth mother who retains all the rights. So Marie must apply to adopt the child, but she will not do so for several years, so as not to arouse suspicion from the law. Because to combat surrogacy, judges block any adoption request that is at all doubtful. It's the only effective sanction that they have found. If you said to the mothers who resort to this sort of practice, listen, you can have a child, but you have to do 6 months in prison and pay a fine, they would say to you, okay, fine, I'll do it. That doesn't worry me. That's not where the problem lies. But if you said to them, this child will never be yours. Now that is very hard. As it happens, the civil punishment is harsher than the criminal one, and it's harsher because of its definitive nature. On the penal level, astonishingly, Marie and Julien and their surrogate mother run no risk. No prison, no fine. In this area, French law is ambiguous. It prohibits, but it doesn't punish. On the National Ethics Committee, the council of wise men charged with considering the major evolutions of French society, the question of surrogate mothers has recently been put once again. At the heart of their reflections, the future of the children born under these conditions. We said very precisely, and it's no accident that we said it. We said that within the precise framework of substitute pregnancies, the interest of the child must be taken into consideration. And this interest of the child is an element, which to some degree has been neglected up till now. So we must take it into consideration. And starting from this basis of argument, we can imagine that gradually, and it won't happen in 5 minutes, but gradually we will achieve an advance in attitudes. Do you think that French society is ready? I don't think that it is ready today, but it may be ready tomorrow. This call for fresh consideration on the recourse to surrogate mothers has not yet found any political echo. Thursday, the 18th of August. We leave in a rush. Marie has just called. The baby wasn't expected for another 3 days, but Sandra was having contractions and has just been taken to maternity. When we arrive, Julien isn't there yet. We can't get into the hospital, so we join Marie just a few steps away.
Comment ça va?
Très stressé.
So how's it going? Very stressful, and it's so totally overwhelming. Even if everything is ready, it really is all a bit of a race.
Et votre nounou?
Ça la stresse pas trop, mais bon, c'est vrai qu'il est tard d'être.
And what about Nursey? She's not too stressed, but it really is taking her a long time to deliver, and to think how we're going to react when we get this little darling in our hands. Can you imagine what your reaction will be? No, not at all. I'll be happy, that's for sure. For sure. Now, I have no idea how we'll react when we see him for the first time. A few hours later, Sandra gives birth by caesarean section. Baby Leo is 20 inches long and weighs 7 pounds 15 ounces. We meet Sandra, Marie and Julien 4 days later in the maternity ward. Since the birth, Marie and Julien have been spending their days in Sandra's room with their baby. A situation made possible by the complicity of the doctor and the nurses. Baby Leo is 20 inches long and weighs 7 pounds 15 ounces. Although they agreed we could film inside the room, it was on the condition that we didn't ask them any questions. We only find out about the drama later. We meet Sandra a month later. She tells us that several hours after the birth, she got giddy spells and had to be rushed to the operating theatre. The thing is, I was hemorrhaging. My doctor tried everything to save my uterus, but after so many transfusions, it was just a matter of trying again and again to save a uterus that couldn't be saved. So he saved my life and took away my uterus, and now I can't have any more children. Did you think there would be such a price to pay? Such a price? No, but I knew that it could happen. It's true. You downplay the consequences. I might have stayed there, and that's when, a couple of weeks later, I got really down because I thought that I took a lot of risks. I could have left my little boy an orphan just to make a family happy, and I would have paid a high price in a way.
J'aurais pu laisser mon petit garçon orphelin pour rendre une famille heureuse et le prix aurait été cher payé quand même quelque part.
Pour regretter?
Do you have any regrets?
Aucun regret.
No regrets. I'll never have any
Je n'aurais jamais
regrets.
aucun regret. Non, non.
À aucun moment, quand vous
Was
étiez
there
à
any
la-
time when you were in maternity and you looked at that little boy in the room and you thought,
dans
this
la
could be
chambre,
my son?
vous vous êtes dit, ça pourrait être mon fils?
Non, non. Parce que même quand je me suis occupée
No,
de lui...
no, because even when
à
I was
certains
looking
moments,
after him, at
j'étais
times
comme
I was like an aunt.
Je le voyais,
I
vraiment
really
comme
saw him
le
as my
fils,
sister's
comme
son.
le fils de ma
I
sœur,
was
en fait.
was
C'était
detached.
vraiment,
I knew that it was not my
un
child.
détachement, oui, ce n'était pas mon enfant.
Sandra had planned to pay regular visits to the child she considers her godson. But Marie and Julien have moved to another town, so as not to have to explain the sudden arrival of this baby to those around them. They didn't want to see us again. They're starting a new life.